Hello everyone, my name is Corbin Norton, and today I'm going to discuss the theory of planned behavior and how it relates to the behavior change campaign to increase condom usage. Here is an outline from our presentation. I will first provide a quick summary of the case study. I will then describe the theory of planned behavior, including its key concepts and their underlying salient beliefs. Then I will discuss how the condom promotion campaign utilized the theory of planned behavior to enact change, as well as a brief description of the common weaknesses associated with this theory. So as a brief review of the case study, roughly 2.5 million Indians have HIV, and of those, most of them are located in the southern provinces. The study determined that the transmission was mainly driven by heterosexual commercial sex, where only 62% of male clients were consistently using condoms. So to address this, they decided that they would try to reduce HIV transmission by increasing access to condoms and also implementing a targeted communication campaign to increase consistent condom usage. To do this, they conducted surveys to help determine underlying social determinants that they then could use to create targeted messaging by using street theater and small group discussions. Through their efforts, they saw an 18% increase in the number of men who were consistently using condoms. So, what is the theory of planned behavior? The theory of planned behavior was a theory developed in the attempt to predict human behavior. It was intended to explain behaviors that people can exert self-control over. The most important component of this model is behavioral intent, which refers to the motivational factors that influence a given behavior. Behavioral intention is influenced by an individual's attitudes towards behavior, a person's belief that the behavior would be widely accepted by society, and their perceived behavioral control. The theory states that achievement of the desired behavioral outcome depends on both motivation, which is a person's intention, as well as their ability, which is a person's behavioral control. It distinguishes between three types of belief: behavioral, normative, and control. So the theory of planned behavior is based on four major constructs. As you can see here to the right, there's a diagram that was located within our text. As you can see, all the salient beliefs help to form different constructs that will eventually influence behavioral intention, which ultimately then helps to drive behavior. And in this regard, behavioral intention is widely regarded as the most important construct. Behavioral intention describes the motivational factors that influence behavior. It asks the question, is someone likely or unlikely to carry out this behavior? The main idea here is that the stronger the intention to engage in a given behavior, the more likely it is that that person will actually do that behavior. The second construct is attitude towards the behavior. The question that you ask here is, do they see this behavior or action as a good or bad thing? This refers to the extent to which a person has a favorable or an unfavorable opinion of the behavior. The third construct is subjective norms, which can be the main question asked here is, do others approve or disapprove of this action? This refers to the societal pressure to perform or not perform a given behavior. Lastly, the fourth construct is perceived behavioral control, or do they believe that they can successfully carry out this behavior on their own? It refers to a person's perception of the ease or difficulty to actually perform the behavior of interest. This idea would be most closely related to the ideas of self-efficacy that we have seen discussed in other models of health behavior. As I briefly mentioned in the slide before, you can see in the diagram that each of the constructs, there are these salient beliefs that form the foundation for that construct, or concepts in this case. The 6 salient beliefs are behavioral beliefs, the evaluation of behavioral outcomes, normative beliefs, motivation to comply, control beliefs, and perceived power. Each of the main constructs is built upon these 6 beliefs. Attitude consists of a person's beliefs regarding that behavior as well as that person's evaluation of the positive or negative outcomes that they can possibly expect from doing that behavior. Subjective norms relies on not only a person's normative belief, which are the beliefs about whether key people in his life approve or disapprove of the behavior, as well as societal pressure that is placed upon an individual to comply with a behavior. Lastly, a person's perceived behavioral control is based in that person's belief that they can actually control these behaviors and their own perceived power to act out on their intentions. So, how did the condom promotion campaign align or not align with the major constructs of the theory of planned behavior? In my opinion, the program incorporated each major construct into their condom use promotion campaign. For attitudes, the program did extensive investigations to determine people's beliefs about condom usage and use that information to create a targeted message to address those beliefs. They tried to make people believe that using condoms regularly would actually be a good thing for them to do. Another thing that they were able to measure within their study via the surveys was each person's self-efficacy or the self-confidence to actually buy and use condoms. This relates to that person's perceived behavioral control or the idea that they can successfully perform the behavior. So in this regard, they were able to increase access to condom usage, and through education taught them that using condoms was within their control. And then for the behavioral intention, they were able to measure this by recording the rate of consistent condom usage among their respondents before and after their targeted communication campaign, where they saw an increase in individuals' motivation to actually use condoms following the education. Lastly, for subjective norms, the study also investigated social support as a social determinant that could potentially affect an individual's desire to carry out the intended behavior modification, which was the using condoms consistently. This one may be the weakest in their study, as they decided to not actually incorporate social norms into their message/communication strategy because they found that beliefs had a stronger association with consistent condom usage. But their results did show that men who rated social support highly were still 1.42 times more likely to use condoms consistently. In my opinion, this promotion campaign most closely followed the key concepts of the theory of planned behavior. And it fits that theory better than the other models of behavior change that we have studied so far. In this regard, it even addressed the 4 main components of behavioral intention, those being action, target, context, and time. The action being promoting condom usage, the target being the male customers, the female sex workers. The context, they were focusing on brothels and located in these predetermined hotspots, and also time, being that that each person needs to use condoms consistently every time with any female sex worker. Some of the main weaknesses or limitations that are associated with the theory of planned behavior is that it focuses mainly on the individual or the interpersonal level. It assumes that each person has equal access to the opportunities or resources necessary to be successful, which does not necessarily account for external, environmental, or economic factors that may hinder or play a role in a person's ability to actually enact behavioral change. It also assumes that behavioral change is a linear decision-making process, which can be an oversimplification of the complex interplay of the numerous factors that go into a person successfully deciding to change and enact a change in their behavior. So, in summary, the condom use campaign used targeted communication strategies to address individuals' key beliefs in regards to condom usage in the effort to increase consistent compliance with their use. The theory of planned behavior is a useful model to predict behavior change that incorporates an individual's attitude, the subjective norms, and the perceived behavioral control, which all contribute to their intention to enact and ultimately to perform a desired behavior. This case study addressed each of the four concepts of the theory of planned behavior, which were behavioral intention, attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. The limitations of the theory of planned behavior includes its assumptions that each person has the ability to act on changes, while it also neglects other environmental or economic factors, possibly oversimplifying a very complex process. Here are my references that I used for this presentation. I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on the discussion board or via my email, jcnorton@ums.edu. Again, thank you, and I look forward to hearing your inputs.